Okay, so what we're going to look at today, which I think some of you may have looked at before we went away on conference time. So we are going to be talking about multiplying and dividing radical expressions. All right, so with multiplying and dividing radical expressions, I'm just going to highlight this for you while you write that down. Okay, so multiplying and dividing radical expressions. So to do this, we are going to start with multiplication first. So multiplication. 3 quick, easy steps. So first step, multiply your coefficients. And your coefficients, remember, are on the outside of your radical. Second thing, multiply your radicands. And remember, that's on the inside of your radical symbol. And then the third thing you want to do is simplify. So those are the 3 steps for this. So I'll give you a second to write that while I do some quick highlighting. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So the very first example that we're going to look at is, we'll do the square root of 2 times the square root of 6. So this is going to be the same as doing the square root of 2 times 6, which is the square root of 12. Now, this coefficient is 1, this coefficient is 1, so 1 times 1 just gives us 1, but we don't write that. Now this, we need to simplify. So the square root of 12, I know that this is going to simplify into 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 more gives me my 12. So here I have a pair of 2's, so my answer when it's simplified is going to be 2 root 3. So that's my answer. I'll give you a second to copy that one. All right, so the next example, we're going to have to do a little bit more work. So for this one, we are going to do 3 times the square root of g times the square root of 2g to the 3rd power. So when we do this, multiply the coefficients. So in this case, 3 times 1, that equals 3, times the square root of g times 2 times g to the 3rd. So when we do this, we end up getting 3 times 2. There's 3 g's here times 1 g here, so that's times g to the 4th power. So what we want to do, we know that 2 is already simplified. So now we have 3 times the square root of 2 times, here g to the 4th is g times g times g times g. So we end up getting 2 pairs of g's, so that gives us g to the 2nd. Because this is the same, remember, as g times g, which is how we get g to the 2nd. So now, because this does not have a radical symbol and this does not have a radical symbol, I'm going to multiply those together. So 3 times g to the 2nd gives us 3g to the 2nd times the square root of 2. And that is going to be your final answer. So you multiply outside, multiply inside, and then you are going to simplify. Okay, so that's multiplication. Now we are going to take a look at division. So with division, what you're going to do is separate the numerator and denominator to their own radicals. Then the second thing you want to do is simplify. So the first thing is separate, and the second thing is simplify. So let's take a look at an example. If I need to find the square root of 5/49, I'm going to separate my numerator and my denominator. So this is going to be the square root of 5 over the square root of 49. So now from here, I need to simplify. The square root of 5 is already simplified. The square root of 49 is equal to 7 because it is a perfect square. So this is your answer. All right, and then we'll take a look at one more example, and this time we'll use some variables. So we'll do the square root of 11 over d to the 4th. So when we do this, we're going to break it up into the square root of 11 over the square root of d to the 4th. The square root of 11 is already simplified. It can't go any further. The square root of d to the 4th, if I break this down, it's d times d times d times d. I have one pair of d's times my second pair of d's. So this gives me d to the 2nd power. And that is your answer. All right, highlight that stuff for you. And if you are not able to get all this, it will be posted so you can take a look at it when you're done.